Welcome to today's Academic Advisor Forum, Mindful of
Hello.
Neurodiversity. My name is Ross Hawkins. I'm the Director of the Academic Advising and Transfer Center here at Missouri State. I am so happy to see so many people joining us today for this important topic. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that we have invited MACADA members. So some of you in the room who may not be familiar with MACADA is the Missouri Academic Advising Association, and there are members of MACADA joining us for today's session. So I would like to turn it over to David Smith, who is the current president for the MACADA Association, to also give some opening remarks.
Ross, thank you so much for allowing us again to piggyback on this event. And we certainly appreciate it. We're looking forward to this for quite a long time. I just have a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, if you are not a member of MACADA, we would love for you to be a member of MACADA if you're an academic advisor. It's only $25 per year. Gets you access to these kind of events. So I would really encourage you to ask one of us about that are members. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions. I also want to, those of you who are members that are here, if you have any ideas for another Munchin MACADA in the future, if you go to the events page on our website, and I'll put the website address here in the chat in case you're not familiar with it. There is a place there on the events page where you can submit ideas. We would love to have your ideas for this. I know that it says monthly. It's probably going to be more like bi-monthly or quarterly at this point, but we're trying to get these back on a regular basis. And then finally, for those of you who are MACADA members, when we're done with this afternoon, I'm going to send to those of you who signed up a link to an evaluation form that I asked Will Smith, who is our Vice President for Professional Development, to create. And so just when you have a chance to fill that out, just so we know what you thought of today's meeting and how we can improve them, and what we did well and what we need to do better. So other than that, that's all I have. Thanks again, Ross, for allowing us to join you today.
Yeah, absolutely, David. And thank you for encouraging those in MACADA to join us. I've been a member of MACADA for nearly 20 years, and it's a great association. I've learned so much from the association, so it's great to have the opportunity to give back. So welcome, everyone. Again, as a reminder, for those of you from Missouri State University, if you wish to receive Master Advisor credit for today's session, please enter your name and your department in the chat feature. Welcome to Mindful of Neurodiversity. Dr. April Phillips is here for this session. Dr. Phillips received her BS degree in 2006 from Missouri State University, an MS degree in Educational Leadership and Policy Analysis in 2012, and a doctorate degree in Educational Leadership and Policy Analysis in 2021, both from the University of Missouri-Columbia. Dr. Phillips began her public education career teaching preschool and then transitioned to special education. Since then, she has taught special education at all grade levels, been an administrator as well as a special education director. As she has had the opportunity to work with students of all ability levels and help families and faculty and staff find resources. The most rewarding moments for Dr. Phillips have been when students find their talents, learn self-confidence, and utilize the skills strategies that have been taught. Please join me in welcoming Dr. April Phillips. Dr. Phillips.
Thank you, Ross, and thank you for everyone that took the time out to join today. I am thrilled to see some familiar faces and to see some new names. Hopefully our paths cross again. I'm excited to present today, and hopefully it's beneficial for you, and I'm happy to have further conversations if needed. So I will get started. All right, so thinking about the work that you all do and the people that you encounter, I'm hoping that I will, spark someone in mind to you. Even it could be a family member or a friend, and hopefully you learn some strategies to add to your toolbox to helping others. So basically, my goal today is, to kind of just briefly, what is neurodiversity and why does it matter? Give you some tips and strategies, and then diving a little deeper, talking about how we're doing that at Missouri State campus, the Bear Power program, supports that we have in place, and then open it up to some questions. So again, Ross introduced me already. I will pass through this slide. So basically, I left you to kind of just get a moment in your head of what comes to mind for neurodiversity to you. So that could be autism, ADHD, dyslexia, anxiety, problem-solving differences, maybe Tourette's syndrome, depression, sensory differences. It also could look like language differences, speech differences, genius abilities, eye contact differences, processing or thinking speed differences, social differences, intellectual disabilities, and more. So let's think about those pieces and what comes to mind as an assumption. So I gotta move my little Zoom thing, sorry. According to Anna Standing and Hannah Rosquist, like biodiversity, the term neurodiversity has come to be used for different purposes, but most often with an assumption. Does this mean that those who are neurodiverse are falling short of an ideal cognitive type? Or can we recognize those differences as uniqueness for individuals? We can notice benefits of natural assets of humans and reclaim one's neural status as a position to claim resources, representation, and recognition, according to Stena et al. So thinking about that, like just coming back to, we're all individuals. We all have unique abilities. And then what can we use for those? So what's the benefits of being mindful of someone being neurodiverse or just different than you? Consider their strengths. Some people considered neurodiverse are very creative, have perseverance, overcome lots of challenges, have a unique humor. They have a unique judgment. Some have a unique ability to have attention to detail, logical reasoning, high levels of honesty, fairness, kindness, and the love of learning. And finally, spatial intelligence. And I'm sure there's a ton more. The reason why I'm bringing those to your attention is to think about what research we do know of. So according to some research completed by Mitchell et al. In 2010, so it's a few years back, but it's continued to be the same data numbers. Hopefully we're increasing, but right now in 2010, 36% of adults with disabilities, so those were ages 18 to 65, were employed, compared to non-disabled adults, which was at 75%, only 36%. In a study conducted by Chosensall Praislin et al. In 2012, this was looking at youth. So 9,600 of youth ages 16 to 21 that had an individual education plan in school or a 504 plan, which is where they have accommodations while they're at school. Of these students, only 32% were employed who had an intellectual disability and autism. If the student only had autism, only 25% were employed for 12 months. Senek and Darrow completed research in 2019 and found that students, or individuals, I should say, with intellectual disabilities that had post-secondary education were more than twice likely to be employed than those without post-secondary education earned $406 more a month and required a little less monthly benefit of Social Security. Rijal, Hart, Papai, Wow, Lazo, Smith, and Domin found that 59% of students who completed a program like Bear Power, which is a comprehensive transition program, had a paid job 1 year after completion. So basically, with given supports and being aware of people's individualities and where their needs were, but also focusing on their strengths, then we had a better turnout with employment. So going into how that directly impacts your work. So you work with students of all different ages, different people in your workforce, different people in community. And I wanted to give you some ideas, some strategies that I have found over the years that benefit most. So first of all is to presume they're competent. If you have a task, if you have a question, presume they can do the task or answer the question. Watch for body language, watch for signs, listen to their conversation, and see if they need assistance. If you're not sure, if they're hesitant or they're not able to respond in a given time, then ask. Did that make sense? Do you need help? How can I help? And maybe breaking down, I tend to, even with my husband, I will ask 2 or 3 things in one question and he'll say yes. And then my brain is like, which one did you answer? So it's just learning people and learning how to communicate to make sure you're both understanding. So that goes into the ask and clarify as well. So giving instructions or asking a question, some people need more time to think. And so if you're looking for their body language, that could look like them staring off to the side, not making eye contact, not shaking their head yes or no. If you watch yourself or watch others, a lot of people, when they're understanding that, automatically are shaking their head yes. So watching for those things. And then if you're not sure, ask. When given choices, some people need more structure in how they can answer. So a vague question could be, do you want to meet for breakfast on Thursday? Well, some people that think more rigidly might say, well, breakfast could be anywhere from 6 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. So that's too broad of a time span. So maybe say, do you want to meet at 8 or 9 for breakfast on Thursday? And then if that is still difficult, possibly give the person some more rigid choices. So option 1, 8 o'clock on Thursday, or option 2, 9 o'clock on Thursday. Do you want 1 or 2? Or you could do A or B. Just thinking about what you're after, what information you need, and trying to make it where they can answer the best way they can. Some other ways to help others and be mindful is thinking about the sensory and the environment you're in. Think about your space, the temperature, the lighting, textures, the physical space, like getting around tables and chairs, lamps, whatnot. Scent, so the smells in your space, even sounds. I know some people have difficulty with fluorescent lights. Some are very sensitive to smell. It's your space. And then if you're inviting people to your space, just be mindful of that. And, especially if someone mentions something, then just try to be accommodating if that's possible. Processing time, I kind of alluded to this a while ago, that some people need some extra time to think of an answer. I've had some students that I've worked with that needed sometimes, depending on the complexity of the question, up to 30 seconds to come up with their response. And that is sometimes hard to wait. And it's a learning process. I think it's kind of a dance between the individuals with that communication. And also you have to learn what that person needs. And so again, you presume that they can answer in a short amount of time as the majority of population. But then if you have someone with that body language, or they're hesitant or they're not answering, and then to say, do you need me to ask that again? Once you kind of understand that person, or if that person can advocate for themselves saying, I need more time, then please try to give them that time. I've had to learn. I've had students tell me, you've asked me again, and now I have to start over in thinking about your answer. And so it's a practice, it's a dance for sure. And the platform. I think it's very wise to, once you have a verbal conversation with someone, either by phone or in person, to follow that up in writing, whether it's in person or in an electronic format. It's good for documentation, so no one can go, well, this was said, but this is what we have on paper. This is how we have it documented. But it also helps some people with processing if they have trouble listening to the conversation and then remembering it, or filtering through some pieces that have specific information, like the work that you all do. There's a lot of data, there's a lot of dates and specifics of anything to be mindful of and pay attention to. So I think that would be a very good tip for you all. I know that you're doing it already, but just saying with the population that I work with. Inclusion and immersion. So that has been, of course, a hot button word the past few years. But for me, it's just that reminder that we're all important and we all should be included. A friend once told me diversity is being invited to the dance, but inclusion is being asked to dance. So consider the activities and events that you have or that you're involved with. Does everyone have the opportunity to be involved in a way that is appropriate for them, or that they would like to be involved? And repair is always something I try to remember. If you make a mistake, own it, apologize, and try again. We are all human. No one is perfect, and we can all learn from mistakes. Even when we show that vulnerability and say, I messed up, that's modeling it for the next person, that they're not perfect either. And how can we repair the moment to make it better for the next situation? Yeah. So one way that we do that, and I've shared with others, is thinking about universal design of learning. So how you're trying to provide information can look different to different people, depending on what you're trying to get across and how much of the content you want them to learn. So when you're advising people, I know that you all have those conversations about what are the dreams that the person has, or what are their goals. So thinking about, pre-teaching, like having those conversations about what is coming up or what could happen, or what would that be in a verbal or written manner. And then other ways of doing that. And of course, depending on the setting, if it's a class or in presentations, of course, but PowerPoints, of course. Service learning is just those volunteer activities, right? But then projects, using video, using memes, using charts, using visuals. Think about how you can present the information so you can give them opportunity to grasp all the information you're wanting to share. And then for them to show what they know, thinking about a project versus a test, and then advising instead of possibly just verbal or just written information about what they're hoping to do. Is it possible to have a more demonstrative in a visual format, or in some kind of other media format? How can they show you what they're after, what their goals are? I know you talk with people all the time, so interviews on there. And then engagement, of course. How do you get people to engage? How do you get their attention? How do you make sure they know that you value their time, and that this is important to you both? And in a classroom setting, I think it's important to be mindful of how long people are sitting in a setting, and include movement and then discussion, of course, in different ways if you have group settings. So the next few slides, I was going to talk about how we do this in Bear Power. And we're doing pretty good on time, so hopefully we can open up some questions in a few minutes. And so how we do that here is a program called Bear Power is a comprehensive transition program. So we're approved by the U.S. Department of Education. There's only 4 of us in the state of Missouri right now. We at Missouri State have a 5-semester program where students live on campus and go to classes like their peers. We provide some additional supports for them to be successful. And our goal is for them to gain competitive employment and to live as independently as they desire. So across the country, here are the numbers for states of how many programs like Bear Power exist. I've listed the 4 in Missouri, but we also have some other inclusive post-secondary programs across the state. Our sister campus in West Plains has a program called Ascend, and there's another one here in town. There's a couple throughout the state. So we are growing. And so as we are growing, I know that as advisors, you're going to have more students and more people that you are interacting with that are going to possibly have some neurodiversity. So academic in our program, our students are required to take a minimum of 6 hours a semester. They can take them for credit or audit. This could be changed by the middle of the semester, what's best for the student, and which is an agreement with the instructor or faculty. They have a class that's just for their own skills. It's our independent living skill class, and it's the only time they're not in an inclusive setting. If the students are auditing courses, then we create a learning agreement, and that is a partnership with the professor or instructor based off the syllabus and what are expectations. They can choose like an area of concentration or a major to a certain degree, even though we're certificate seeking, not degree seeking. But once they finish the 5 semesters, they are able to walk through commencement and graduate with their peers and be recognized of doing the work they've done. Some students have those special skills and niches where they can take some classes for credit and earn an undergrad certificate. I wanted to just explore, show, demonstrate some of the classes that our students have taken in the past. We have had great partnership with our advisors, especially shout out to Ross and Kim Stagner. They have been amazing, helping our students find their path and find their journey through what classes they could take. So this is the audit versus credit. So with credit, of course, our students are like traditional students. They go through our Disability Resource Center, and that conversation, that list of accommodations is sent from that center to the instructor or the professor. The students that audit the classes, this is more of a flexible method. The students do not get official grades that are on their transcript. They are graded, because in our program, they still have to maintain a GPA. So we ask all the faculty instructors to send us a final grade, but we send an unofficial transcript to our students at the end of the semester. Some examples of that would be say they're in a class that has a 5-page paper. If they're auditing the course, maybe they can demonstrate their knowledge through a 1-page paper or through a PowerPoint. Maybe for the tests, instead of having some essay questions, maybe they can answer the essay questions with bullets in bullet form. Or if there's a multiple choices, instead of 5 or 6 choices, can we narrow it down to 3? It's very individual, and it's very much a conversation with the faculty and staff, instructors, whoever is holding the class, to make sure it fits with the instructor of what they're wanting the students to obtain from the content. And we just have that conversation about how can the students show what they know. So this slide is more of just a kind of infographic about what is an accommodation, what could that look like, and what is a modification, which would be kind of that audit status. So accommodations that you're all probably familiar with, large print, even Braille, additional time for a test or taking a test in a private setting or small group setting using assistive technology, preferential seating, breaks if there are long session classes. And modifications are kind of what I've explained, just changing up a little bit about what's expected for the assignment, and grading. Sometimes lower level of text, but really we try not to do that with assistive technology. We try to use the ebooks. We're using text-to-speech capabilities. A program like our system uses Glean. It's an amazing tool. Closed captioning if there's videos, those kind of things. If we can use them as an accommodation, we try to stay there. But if a student needs that modification, we'd love to have that conversation. So here are some more detailed options for those learning agreements, those modifications, things that we've done in the past. So for quizzes and exams, maybe not have the lockdown browser, letting them use their notes or their book, using multiple choices versus an essay or having a word bank, having an extra day to complete it, study guides, using that during the test, reducing the number of choices. And then instructions is maybe breaking down those large assignments into multi-steps or simplifying the instructions, clear expectations of due dates and the points possible. Projects, maybe say the class has 3 or 4 projects and maybe considering dropping the lowest one of the class. Learning environment, giving that wait time for all responses. That's really important, especially when there's presentations or like a public speaking class, having that conversation about what that student needs. Note-taking assistance, I talked about Glean already. Alternative textbook format. I talked about breaks. Some students need headphones. It's not necessarily that they're listening to anything, but maybe it's cutting down some of the noise in the environment. Some have very sensitive hearing abilities, and so they have to kind of cut down the white noise, if you might. And sometimes need sunglasses or fidgets. As long as it's not a distraction in the class, we try to have that conversation of what they could have. And then sometimes students need instructions read to them. But with the technology that we have, we try to make sure that that's the least distractible. So not during class or lecture, but in a different setting provided either by the computer or by a human. So part of our Bear Power program is a goal is for social interaction and increase their skills. We want them fully integrated onto campus life and work on their own goals and master being part of the community. We have ambassadors, which are Missouri State students who volunteer to be that peer mentor, and they help students in all areas. They could help them with homework, but a big proponent is that social piece and knowing where resources are on campus. Here are some fun pictures of some different events that our students have done. So I'll let you look through those. We've had some where they did a painting event. Actually, one of our students, her thing was art, and so she taught the class. We had a Friendsgiving. We have a day on campus when our students are applying to be a Bear Power student. So the picture by the bear statue is that one of those days. We have partnered with a sorority on campus. Actually, a couple of our students have been accepted members of the sorority. And so we did a group project for making blankets for charity. And of course, social events like going to the downtown arcade. Lots of different things. Independent living is the other pillar, would say, that we work on. And so we try to help them with communication, relationships, time and money management, self-advocacy, and engaging in the community. We have partnered with MU to work on nutrition and cooking. And they live on campus, like I said, so they have to figure out that time management, their meals and laundry, all those fun college life things. And the final piece of our program is internships. So we try to get them into work experiences starting that second semester of our program. So we've had multiple on campus, the Child Development Center, the Service Learning Office, the Welcome Center, the library, the rec center, KSMU, our radio station, on the grounds and in the bookstore. Off campus, our students have traveled throughout Springfield community, Wonders of Wildlife, the zoo, Springfield Little Theater, museum on the square, just to name a few. Our support systems look like our graduate assistants work one-on-one with students. They spend 1 to 2 hours a week working with them like a tutor. This picture is one of our social events. We went to Willard for a fun Christmas hot chocolate game night. And masters I talked about a little bit already. They are vital for their integration on campus and making those friendships, and they have turned out to be lifelong friendships. I've had several graduates that were invited to weddings of their friends that were their ambassadors while they were in school, and keep up with being friends. So we provide resources to faculty and staff. And so I have a link, and again, I'll share this PowerPoint with Ross, and he can share it with you all. There's several videos that I will not be showing today that I would love for you to watch at some point, but the link will have some more resources that we have on our website. This cartoon I've been given permission to share with you. I think it's a pretty telling about just helping others. So the cartoon says that the student in the wheelchair says, "Can you please shovel the ramp?" And the person with the shovel clearing off the steps says, "All these other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I will clear the ramp for you." And the student in the wheelchair says, "But if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in." So that's kind of the mindset of universal design of learning, and just being mindful of others that are neurodiverse. I think, yeah, we have time. So if you bear with me, I'm not going to make this a large video, as just I'll let it play where it's at on the screen. But this is thinking about changing perspective. It's only 5 minutes long.
We're in danger of losing our chefs and scans. Slow down to Good, along with that discussion. Well, I'll just.
Oh, so sorry. I clicked off.
About wraps it up.
Not quite. There's the new Disability Discrimination Act.
I think it's an excellent idea. Yeah, me too. A commendable.
About time, that's what I was saying.
Absolutely, right. Then we support it. Good, good.
No, you see, the act's already come into effect. We have to decide what we're going to do about it.
Do. What does that mean? Do. Well, we do whatever the law requires us to do. Hearing aids, ramps, I don't know. Just keep the costs down. Now, don't get me wrong. My cousin's disabled. I know what it's like for them. But it's crazy to spend more than we have to. I mean, do we even have any disabled people working here? Huh? Well, I'm not saying we don't do our bit. Just don't go overboard. That's all.
Those ramps make damn good PR.
He's got a point. Robert, why don't you check out what the competition's doing? I don't want us losing out in the image stakes. Make some recommendations. We'll meet up day after tomorrow. Discuss it. Talk some more.
I got the interview tomorrow.
So you're leaving us?
Time for a change.
Also still up until tomorrow night. Finally get to see what you look like. Well, I hope you're not disappointed too.
For the interview.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I couldn't.
I'm sure that's okay.
Taxi. Sorry, I can't.
Oh, they shouldn't be long.
No, but I just
You're
can't.
welcome.
What is it?
How good of you to come. Why don't you take a seat? Now, take as much time as you need.
Right. I had a friend who had all his limbs once. It's great.
No, I didn't get it. I mean, it's as if they weren't even listening to me. I don't know. Listen, I've got to go. I'll tell you about it later, okay? Yeah, 8 o'clock. I'm wearing a light grey suit, purple shirt, burgundy tie. Okay, then. It's fine.
Sorry, mate, wheelchairs only.
What?
Well, I don't make the rules.
Sorry.
So that's an interesting video that I like to share with others, just because it's just thinking about how the typical world is and how it could be perceived the flip way if you have a disability. So it's kind of changing that perspective. Once you have this and you have the time, I encourage you to watch the other 2 videos on the screen. So Stella is an individual with disabilities, and her TED Talk is about how she is not an inspiration to you or others. And so she has a great perspective. She's quite funny. And then Edie Cusack was a director of a program similar to Bear Power in the Carolinas. And so she's talking about how the programs and the Higher Education Act, of 2008 really changed the trajectory and possibilities for people with disabilities. So I encourage you to watch that one as well. Here's some student voices. Maybe. Thinking, there we go. So we've asked some students of what they thought, their perspective about going to college from high school and having disability, saying that, you know, MSU is a lot different than high school, but you got to take responsibility and you get to do things without your parents. I think that's probably all freshmen, all college students. Advice to students is not to be scared. Try and go for it. Good luck. And I know you'll love it. Favorite moments: getting connected to clubs and making new friends. These people have made my life at college 10 times more enjoyable. learning independent living skills, which is important for all of college students. And then this video is going to show you, it's only a minute long. So this is one of our Bear Power students, and actually another Bear Power student is in media. And so he did the recording and editing of this video.
I'm Riley. I'm from Nixa, Missouri, and I'm part of the Bear Power program at Missouri State University. What sparked my interest in early childhood development? I've always had a passion with working with kids, and literally everyone I know has said that I'm good with kids, and I just love, no matter the age group, watching them develop and grow. Bear Power has taught me about myself that no matter what disability I have, I can still get my education. And at Missouri State University, I am learning more about myself and how to grow through the job I have now. My favorite thing about being a student here is that all the friends that I've made this semester, my plans after I graduate MSU, I plan on getting a job here and working full-time. My advice for future Bear Power students, no matter the disability that you have, you're still suitable. And always follow your dreams.
This one I'm not going to show you today, but you'll have access to it as well. Jacob is a graduate of our program, and he was in a media class as well. He was studying electronic arts. He loves sounds and speakers. So he made this video about his experience in Bear Power. He did have a tutor to help him with the equipment, but he did all of the creating the interview questions, conducting the interviews, recording the information, editing, adding music, all the things to the video. It's a pretty good piece of work. I'm a little biased, but hopefully you can enjoy that. And here are some lists of some of the successes. We have many, but we just try to highlight a few as we have limited time. I would like to talk about student 3. She was very shy and timid. She wouldn't talk to hardly anyone, didn't want to talk to strangers, but art was her thing. So the bottom picture of this slide is the food pantry we had in one location on campus. She designed and painted the mural. And now she has a full-time job teaching art classes to others in the community and talks to strangers all the time. Student 5 had the ability to drive, had a driver's license, and was the golf savant. And so he has actually been accepted into PGA golf school. Student 6 took all his courses for credit, actually took 12 hours a semester. He performed in the band playing guitar and singing with, at the time, Deputy Provost, now it's faculty, Dr. Chris Craig. After graduation, he has a full-time position listening to phone calls to the jail. He is also completely blind, so he had extra challenges as well. I'm gonna go back to student 4. She took all her classes for credit. She used this program as to support, to figure out what she needed to do, how to learn, how to be successful, and continued on after graduation from our program, and she earned her bachelor's degree last December. So those are the slides. Here's just some more pictures of some fun events with some students and staff and ambassadors and GAs. I would love to open it up to questions to help you all in your work and see how I can help.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
I was looking through your website here.
Yes.
And I really appreciated the parent resources and the instructor and faculty resources you have listed here. What kind of feedback do you typically get from parents who have students in this program?
So one, it's the opportunity. Most of them are very grateful that this wasn't an opportunity a few years ago. And so just having the option to be like their peers and have the ability to go to college and have that social experience and go to classes that are more fine-tuned with helping them get a job is just overwhelmingly positive. On the other side, there's always the fears, like any student and family, like, how's my student going to be safe? What's that look like? How are they going to get around on campus? But generally, it's always, there's usually a positive. Like, there's the things that come up are just general, like, how do we get through this hiccup and like for classes, right? If students struggled with a test or struggling with even understanding how a professor works or what they're expecting, we help with those things. Yeah.
Are they ever able, or have you found it possible for them to give input that maybe that you have implemented in this program, like they given you a suggestion or something that you perhaps implemented with what you're doing so far?
Oh yeah, I mean, if I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but like social experiences, we try to get the students to give their input about what they would be interested in doing. So we try to do those things. Parents giving feedback. I did implement something, and so I created like a progress report because all the families were getting like just like a traditional student, like, how's it going? It's fine or it's not, right? Not much information. And so with all the things that all the components that we implement and support students with, I've created a progress report. So that goes to the student at the end of every semester. So that talks about how they're doing overall, but also some feedback from their internship sites, from our staff, from the GAs that work with them, and ambassadors. And then we implemented the ARC self-determination scale. So every semester, the students fill it out to evaluate themselves on the skills that they would need to be successful adults in society as independent, and then we can show them their growth each semester and then fine tune, like, what supports can we give you as part of that result. So those are some pieces that, because I felt like the parents didn't have that input other than just the grades. So we try to give them some more deeper, meaningful information.
Very good. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
And feel free to come off of mute, or also, yes, I was going to say use the chat feature to ask questions. And I think, Dr. Phillips, we have our first one from Jenny.
Okay. Let's see if I can.
How should we approach a student who suspects they may have an undiagnosed neurodivergent condition that is affecting their success? And then a follow-up, what strategies can we employ to facilitate a supportive and open dialogue with the student about their concerns? Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah, great question, and not the first I've heard from people. And it's kind of a touchy subject, right? Because it's Privacy Act, and you're trying to be mindful of that, but also supporting them. So I usually suggest having that conversation, especially if they bring it up. Like, I think I have XYZ. I think I have a condition. I have this, whatever. I would ask why they think that. What struggles are they finding? What things have they tried to help themselves? Have they tried to approach any type of evaluation assessment? Unfortunately, sometimes it's very costly, right? So even this semester, I had someone contact me, and even on campus, it costs between $400 and $800 to go to one of our learning centers and get a full diagnosis. Otherwise, you're using medical care and trying to find, all those like psychiatrists or psychologists, or going to a neurologist, different things, right? That have the testing to formally have that diagnosis. So if you can start that conversation about, well, why do you think you have this? Let's talk about what struggles you're having, and then go from that direction to what strategies there are. And I would guide them to try to find resources. So they are welcome to come to our site. I can offer you all some different sites, but it's so broad, right? So it's kind of hard to give specific strategies other than have them talk with the disability center they have on campus or in the community. Like, is it just a learning you know, they just need something like Glean where it's recording the lectures and then they can refer back to the transcription or hear the lecture again? Is it more a social interaction piece that they need some more targeted help with some like therapy or counseling or skill sets, you know? So conversation, listening, and guiding them to some possible resources, you know, their counseling center on campus or in the area, disability centers, and then medical resources. And then if you have a specific question, you have a scenario, I'd be happy to try to help through email or a phone call.
Hey, another question regarding the certificate. How does that translate into a degree that prospective employers may recognize?
So that's a great question. And basically, we're not like replacing the degree, right? We are being true to higher education expectations. So if they've earned the certificate, that means they've taken the classes that required in that certificate for credit and have complied with all the expectations. So depending on the career or the job workforce that they're looking into, that might be enough for the employer to show that, oh, this person has enough skill sets to do this job because they've taken these classes showing this transcript. And so that's how that kind of looks like. It's not like for education, it's probably not going to translate into a teaching degree, but could they be a para? Could they be support staff in a school district? Absolutely. Could they work in childcare? So there's various levels. If you think of a career, even someone that's not in bare power, that's just neurodiverse, like what skill sets do they have and how could that fit into that job workforce? Hopefully that answers that question.
Any other questions? Oh, good. I see a hand up. Gates.
Thank you, Ross. And also, Dr. Phillips and Ross and everybody, sorry for having my camera off. I'm a little under the weather today, but yeah, RIP.
Thank you for joining.
I've been actually very excited for this. One question that I have, I know that I work with a lot of students who aren't diagnosed with the neurodivergency, and obviously I'm not the person to, you know, make assumption as to whether or not they do. Something I've encountered a lot, I feel, with recent incoming freshmen is I see anecdotally really, really high numbers of people, students who are like, well, I have anxiety or such and such. And they're like, you know, throughout my high school career, this means I've been exempt from doing things and my parents have done things for me. Something I struggle with is it's actually the reverse. I'm assuming that they can do things and I'm very confident that they can do things, but they're not confident in doing them themselves. So I struggle with having conversations of trying to encourage them and push them without them feeling like I am invalidating them or it's like a betrayal in some way. So is there any like recommendations for how to approach those types of conversations?
That's a great topic, and I don't want to say great problem, but it is, right? It's dealing with sometimes what we have in society, what I kind of say like enabling, right? So it's where someone might have a disability and family, friend, teacher, someone's like, oh, you poor thing, here, you know, it's too hard, or I'll help you, whatever. So when you have those situations, and I have had those situations, it's more of like, well, show me, like, let's try. I have faith in you. I trust you. I think you're here because you have done the work to get here, right? You have earned your spot. So let's try. And how can I support you in that? Because we're not going to do it for you because you need the skill for your future job. I'm not in your head. I'm not going to be with you. Your family's not going to be with you 100% for the rest of your life. So let's get you the skills that you need to take that and be your own person. And I've even had some students that their common go-to is when they're asked a question, well, I don't know, because they've learned that behavior. So someone else can offer them or prompt them to answer. I'm like, I'll wait when you're ready. You know, those kind of prompts of, I'm not giving you the answer. I'm not telling you what to say, but I can be patient with your thinking. And you have to learn to trust yourself. And once you do that a few times, it gets less and less because they learn that you hold them accountable and also that you value their thoughts and their work. Some are going to need more than others, obviously, depending on the value that they have on themselves, but also the experiences they've had. So I would say keep up the hard work and encouraging them, but just validating that, they're here and they can do it. And if they're struggling, that you'll help them find resources to help them. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you. Hearing it articulated like that was really helpful. I liked a lot of the ways you phrased it. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Any other questions?
And kind of go with Gates, and I don't know if anyone else has had this or not, but I've had some students even come up and say, well, I have, like you mentioned, anxiety. Well, in my program, like they have to provide medical documentation to be be considered for admission. So I'm lucky to have that information. And some students really don't have that medical documentation. It's what they perceive. Google is a friend and sometimes an enemy. We can Google, symptoms or things, or it can be an event that made someone uncomfortable and then they're self-diagnosing. So that's why I said have that conversation about how the person is struggling, why they think they have XYZ, and then going from there.
And then what about open to accepting new Bear ambassadors?
Yes, Jessica. Yes.
Okay.
All the time. Anytime.
One more from Dr. Hall. Are there any conditions, diagnoses that Bear Power cannot accommodate?
That's a great question. One of our rules is that they do have to be safe, right? So they've not had any behaviors that impede others or themselves safety-wise for the last 3 years. It has to be documented. We require letters from people that would know that person. So, because we want to make sure that one, our student is safe, but also they're going to be living with strangers in the dorm. So everyone there needs to be safe, faculty and campus society. This is not a public school setting, K-12, where it's FAPE, where they have to be at that school, right? This is a privilege that they have done the work, even though they have disability and we can support them, they still have to be safe on campus. So there are some conditions, either whether it's skill set or a disability, but the disability is like showing itself in behavior that is not the right fit. And maybe it's not yet. Maybe later down the road, they get some more skill sets and we can consider them, but there are some of those pieces. If a student cannot take care of themselves independently, like dressing, bathing, feeding themselves, depending on the level, like some people might have physical disabilities where they need a personal care assistant. That's kind of different. I'm thinking more of that cognitive ability to know how to feed yourself, how to dress yourself, how to ask for help. Those kinds of levels of skill sets we're not able to support in this setting. And so there might be some other programs out there that I know of a couple that maybe that's a better fit and we would have that conversation. Yeah, I think they have to be, we try to put it in a picture for families and students that if they can be alone for a whole weekend, then that's more of a possibility, but they have to be even more independent than that. Like they have to be able to check their email and check in calendar, communicate with us, whether it's in writing or in person, those kind of things. Like they have to be independent enough and safe to be on campus.
I know it's 1 minute after one,
Oh,
so we
gosh, so sorry.
dropping off. No, you're fine. I did want, though, there's one more question. Are all participants traditional aged college students?
Most are. I do have a couple students in their 30s because this was not available to them when they graduated high school. So it was a good fit for them. So I do have some students in that age range, although I have checked with the dorms and they're like, we could have people from their 50s and 60s and 70s living here. So it's like, well, It's not traditional, but they still fit in. Some programs like Bear Power stop taking students after age 25, 26. But here in Bear Power, we understand and acknowledge that people with disabilities sometimes takes longer to learn a skill. So why put a limit on the age if it's not appropriate?
Okay. Well, you can see in the chat, Dr. Phillips, people are very grateful for the information you provided today. So thank you for doing this session. We appreciate you. Missouri State attendees, MCADA members, thank you for joining us today for this advisor forum. Take care of yourselves. Happy holidays. And please continue to do the great work with the students you meet with. Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye.